So Punjab, it's often in the news for its incredible energy as agriculture, but beneath that surface, there's this really, really serious challenge with drug abuse.
Yeah, it's a persistent issue.
And now we're seeing a new initiative trying to tackle this head on. It's called the Nasha Mukti Yatra, which translates to a drug-free journey.
That's right. And today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, this yatra. We've got an ARMN news article here that details its launch. But it also throws in some really concerning statements from the judiciary and some pretty serious allegations, too.
Okay.
So our goal here really is to try and understand the context, what this yatra is actually aiming to do, and maybe what obstacles it's up against, based on what this source is telling us.
Okay, right. So let's get into the nuts and bolts then of this Nasha Mukti Yatra. The article says it was announced by Arvind Kejriwal. He's the AAP national convener, and Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann was right there with him. Sounds like they're aiming for, a big launch.
Absolutely. The stated goal, the ambition, is to really galvanize the people of Punjab, to sort of strengthen their resolve against both using drugs and, importantly, selling them.
And the reach.
Oh, the plan is for this to be incredibly widespread. They're talking about reaching every single village and every single ward right across the state.
Wow. So, okay, this isn't just symbolic then. What are they actually planning to do on this journey? What are the activities?
It seems very focused on, direct community engagement. A big part of it is encouraging people to take oaths, pledges.
Oaths? Like what?
Promises that they won't use drugs themselves, that they'll work to stop drug sales happening in their areas. And also, this seems key, that they'll support addicts in getting treatment, help them find help.
Right, treatment. And speaking of help, Kejriwal apparently made some pretty bold claims about the facilities available.
He did, yeah. According to his tweet, which the article cites from May 16th, 2025, he said the Punjab government has set up large-scale arrangements for treating addicts.
Yeah.
And he also claimed that, in the 2.5 months just before this, they'd started a war against drugs.
A war against drugs?
Leading to, quote, significant action against smugglers, something he apparently described as being on an unprecedented scale.
Okay. That sounds, positive on the face of it. But the article, as you mentioned, it throws a bit of a curveball almost immediately, bringing up these judicial concerns.
Yeah, and this is where things get really complex. And it just highlights how layered this whole issue is. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has reportedly made a very, very serious statement.
Which is?
Alleging, and this is a direct quote referenced, criminal collusion between Punjab police and criminals in the drugs mafia.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a statement. Criminal collusion.
It's a bombshell, really. The article even mentions an NDTV report that apparently detailed the court really criticizing, maybe even rebuking, the Punjab government and the police force.
What were the specifics? What exactly were the judges worried about?
Well, the core issue seems to be this pattern. Police officers allegedly just not showing up as witnesses in drug cases, failing to appear.
And the implication is?
The court suggests this absence could point to a really troubling connection, maybe implying they're operating hand in glove, as the saying goes, with the traffickers they're supposed to be catching.
Right.
So yeah, the court was urging immediate, decisive action to tackle this apparent complicity. It's a serious charge.
So you've got the government launching this big anti-drug campaign, but at the same time, a major institution, the judiciary, is casting serious doubt on the police's integrity in this very fight. And to really hammer home how serious this all is, the article gives some stats on just how big the drug problem is in Punjab.
Exactly. It doesn't mince words. It calls drug addiction a major problem killing thousands of people. And to put a number on it, it cites this 2022 study from PGMer.
PGMer, the Medical Institute.
That's the one. And reportedly found that over 3 million people consume drugs in Punjab.
3 million?
3 million. I mean, if that number is accurate, it underscores the enormous scale of the challenge here. It's a staggering number. Think about the impact on families, communities, the whole state.
It really is staggering. And okay, so you have this massive problem. You have judicial skepticism about the police. And then the article pivots to some very direct, very serious allegations against the chief minister and the AAP party. This is where it gets politically tricky.
That's right. The article includes claims, and these are claims reported in the article, that Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann is, quote, reluctant to stop the illegal drugs business.
Reluctant? Why would he be reluctant?
Well, the reason the article gives is this very serious allegation that, quote, 8 AP politicians are involved in this lucrative racket.
Involved in the drug trade.
That's the allegation presented in the article. It even goes further, claiming the party's priority is basically to make money by hook or by crook.
To fund what?
Political expansion, apparently, and looking ahead to the 2027 election. That's the claim.
The article really doesn't pull any punches, does it? It also brings up something about a promise Kejriwal made before.
Yeah, it mentions an alleged false promise from before the 2022 election, where Kejriwal supposedly vowed he'd sort out the drug problem in just 3 months.
3 months. And the article's take on the current situation after 3 years of this government.
Pretty bleak, according to this source. The claim is the drug situation has actually worsened. It alleges that lethal drugs are being openly sold in many parts of Punjab.
Openly sold.
And that this is happening, allegedly, with the collusion of police and other officials. Again, these are the serious allegations laid out in the article we're looking at.
So, okay, let's just pause here. We're looking at this really stark contrast, aren't we?
Absolutely.
On one side, you've got this very public Nasha Mukti Yatra launching. You've got government statements about progress, this war on drugs.
Big pronouncements.
But then, on the other side, you have the High Court voicing these deep concerns about police collusion, and then these allegations from the journalists saying things are actually getting worse, maybe even involving politicians.
It's the clash between these narratives that's really striking. You have the government painting a picture of action, of success, but at the same time, a really crucial part, the state apparatus, the judiciary, is signaling this profound lack of trust, suggesting there might be systemic corruption involved.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to reconcile those two pictures.
And it's probably important for us and for you listening to remember where this specific picture is coming from. The article itself points this out.
Exactly. Our whole deep dive today, it's based on this one RMN News article by Rakesh Raman. And the article identifies him. It says he's a national award-winning journalist and also a social activist.
Right. So his perspective, his background, that's important context for how this information is presented. Okay, so just to sort of pull the threads together, we have the government launching this big campaign, the Nasha Mukti Yatra. The goals sound laudable.
Yeah.
Empower communities, provide treatment.
Right. But this is all happening while the Punjab and Haryana High Court has raised these really grave flags about potential criminal links between the police and the drug mafia, suggesting a serious breakdown in law enforcement integrity, at least in this area.
And looming over all of this is the sheer scale of the problem, that PGM or study figure, over 3 million users. It just shows what a monumental task this is.
Monumental. And then layered on top are these allegations we discussed, reported in the article, about political reluctance, maybe even involvement in the drug trade itself, which directly contradicts all the government's optimistic talk.
So it really brings us to this core tension, doesn't it? Can a public campaign, however well-intentioned, actually work if there are these deep underlying questions about corruption and complicity in the very system supposed to be fighting the problem?
That's the crux of it. And how do we, or how does anyone, make sense of these completely different stories about what's happening in Punjab? Is it progress, like the government claims? Or is it alarm bells from the court and claims of things getting worse, as this journalist alleges?
It certainly leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about just how incredibly difficult it is to tackle something as deep-rooted as drug addiction, especially when trust in the police, trust in political will, seems to be seriously questioned, at least according to these sources.
Yeah.
What kind of fundamental changes, what sort of systemic overhaul might actually be needed to get at the root causes when the very foundations seem, well, shaky? Something to think about.